state of the development that's going on in the UK and some of the opportunities that are there, I think, for international and domestic opportunities. If we look at what the future of the industry is going to be, it is, as we all know, a future of ACEs, automated, connected, electrified, and increasingly services. And the issue is how quickly this will take place, and to a certain extent, where will be in the forefront of these sort of transitions. We believe the UK has the opportunity to be at one of the leading countries in which we can see both the development and the deployment of some of these vehicles. If you look to start with at the availability of driver assistance systems, we're already seeing that about half of all new cars have fitted as standard autonomous emergency braking. Add that to those that are an option and you're at about 3/4 of new vehicles. But you're also seeing the other technologies that are already there as well. Each of these technologies helping improve safety of the driver, the occupant, and other road users. And this is the fundamental advantage of these technologies. We view it not as much about how quickly we can get to totally driverless cars, but this incremental improvement in safety, which has huge benefits to the society that we'll see shortly. Obviously, where are we in terms of the UK? Like everyone else, I mean, we're familiar with the SAE definitions, and we're probably at around level 1, level 2 at the moment, where the driver must monitor the driving dynamic at all times. However, we're at the threshold now of level 3, where the driver for certain types of journeys will not have to monitor the task. The government is currently consulting on the introduction of technologies around level 3. What do we need to do to be able to facilitate some of these new technologies? And as we know, automated lane keep systems, the next generation of these sort of technologies, is coming on some new cars, probably from next year. The UK wants to make sure that it's has the right regulatory framework in place. So it needs to change the Road Highway Act. It needs to change the official highway code, which is the Bible for all learner drivers, to make sure that drivers, when they're purchasing these vehicles, first of all, are permitted to use the technology. And one of the emphasis that will be on the industry is make sure when people buy the new vehicles, they're familiar with these technologies, how they work, so they use them properly. Because these systems, as you well know, are not a permanent, they're not a substitute for driving. The driver must always be focused on the road, and we need to make sure they're familiar with that level of responsibility. But looking at connected vehicles, and the two go hand in hand, automated and connected. And we're already seeing that most connected vehicle services today can already be adequately delivered on 4G. Some of the new technologies in terms of vehicle-to-person communication, navigation, entertainment, in-car Wi-Fi, stolen tracking vehicles, roadside assistance, all of these generally can be done on 4G. But what is the state of the UK new car vehicles? Again, increasing technology becoming as standard in these vehicles. By 2026, we expect all new cars will be connected. Then as that gradually permeates into the park, we'll get to the stage, probably over 10 to 15 years, where the entire vehicle park, or 99% of it, will be connected. And that offers huge opportunities for business. The other thing we need to consider, obviously, is the level of network. And here the UK still has to catch up. We have around 2% of British roads have no 2G coverage, often very rural areas, far distant from any network provider. Whereas in terms of 4G and 3G, in 4G, it's around 51%, 3G around 71%. We're beginning to see 5G in certain areas. The quicker you can get some of these advanced systems up and running and are able to operate a comprehensive network, the more services can be provided and consumers can take advantage of these services that we're going to see. So why do we see this as such an important issue for the UK automotive industry? Well, CAVs, connected autonomous vehicles, have a number of key benefits. First, as I said before, most obviously safety. We know in the UK 94% of accidents are due to human error. If we can reduce the level of accidents that are due to human error, then we can immediately save lives, around just under 4,000 over the next 10 years, but also save around 47,000 serious accidents which can often be life-changing to the individuals concerned. So safety is the most obvious one, but also in terms of efficiency. Like many cities, the UK cities suffer from congestion, whether that be London, whether that be Birmingham, Edinburgh, Glasgow. Increasing congestion, despite the current circumstances on COVID. We need to avoid this. It's bad for air quality, it is bad for climate change, and it's bad for business as well. So if we can improve efficiency, make journeys more reliable, the first probably enactment of that will be on truck platooning, we think. And again, some tests are underway in the UK to see how both these systems would work and how other road users would interact with such truck platooning. Other benefits in terms of mobility. The UK has an aging population, like many other countries and Western countries, increasing limited mobility for older people, but also in terms of younger people being able to access work, especially what's seen at the moment is people's dependency on private transport increase dramatically because they're fearful of using public transport because of COVID and so forth. The idea of car sharing temporarily being just people taking a step back from that because of that reticence about sharing a vehicle with somebody else. Provision of autonomous, connected and autonomous vehicles gives you that opportunity to increase mobility to a wider audience which are currently denied that personal mobility, and also help reassure people who may otherwise not be able to have that access to personal mobility. Finally, productivity. We believe £62 billion per annum in added value by 2030 as a result of the introduction of some of these technologies. Create potentially 420,000 additional jobs, only 20,000 of which will be in manufacturing. But again, you see the opportunities that will arise from the advent of additional services. Now, put that together, we did a report with consultancy Frost & Sullivan a couple of years ago, looking at the benefit just to the UK economy and society of this transition. By 2030, as I said, £62 billion in economic growth, 55% new automotive jobs to be highly skilled, creating 20,000 additional jobs in automotive alone. And the bottom line there, the safety benefits in terms of saved lives and accidents. So the prize to be grasped from the introduction of this technology is tremendous. How are we going to do that? Well, first of all, let's look at what will be the encouragement. Why will society and the economy and businesses try and take advantage of that? The biggest driver, invariably, is going to be the economic benefit. And as I said, £62 billion. You're seeing that in terms of consumer impacts, where time that consumers can save. Looking at the wider impact, revenue growth, upstream activities, development of new digital services. Producer impacts, expected growth in profit as a result of increased sales because of the demand for these sort of products. There's taxation benefits, I mentioned the safety benefits, and obviously cost savings as well. Put that together and you'll see why you will have an absolute driver behind some of this transition. Now, where is the UK in terms of the international comparisons? Because we can see the advantage, societal benefits, economic benefits. How ready is the UK to be able to take some of these vehicles? Again, the Frost & Sullivan report from 2019 looked at the UK and a number of other countries, in addition to Korea, at how the state of readiness, and was looking at three main aspects, both the enabling regulations, the enabling infrastructure, and the market attractiveness. Now, put those three issues together, and it gave us sort of a benchmarking index. And perhaps somewhat surprisingly, the UK came up on top. The government has been, for a number of years now, determined to ensure that there is a regulatory framework which enables, encourages the development and deployment of these types of technologies, because governments see the economic and the societal benefit. In terms of infrastructure, we're not ahead we're behind on some countries, ahead of further on others. Again, much more investment needs to go into this area. And finally, then you look at the overall market attractiveness. We are a relatively large market by European standards. We're an affluent market. We like technology. Brits are somewhat infamously the world champions in online shopping, spending more per head of population than any other country on earth. We like the technology and we embrace the technology. That's why we believe it will be a very attractive market in which to initially trial and deploy some of these technologies. Okay, so that's where we are now. Let's look a bit further ahead into the future and where are some of these technologies going. We're already seeing some advanced automated vehicle trials. And these generally, you'll be very familiar with them. They're often seen as pods, be they delivery, be they short-term transport and so forth. And again, making sure we have the ability to trial these vehicles in the UK on UK roads is a really important step into getting them into use and into commercial use. So the government's always taken a light touch towards the regulations for such trials. You can carry them out on any road as long as you operate within the UK law, which is trying to facilitate this. You don't have to implement huge multi-million-pound waivers, anything like that. We want to create an ecosystem of test beds, public roads, proving grounds, parking, simulated environments, virtual environments where you can test some of these new technologies, see how they interact with the infrastructure, how they interact with other people, other vehicles and so forth, because by doing so, it allows you to learn that much more rapidly. Obviously, we also see the potential of 5G in this regard. As I said earlier, we have beginnings of 5G coverage, and this will be a game changer in terms of multi-access edge computing for automated driving, real-time, high-definition maps and over-the-air updates done quickly and being able to respond to real-time changes. Massive uplift in terms of capability that will arise from the implementation of 5G because of those bandwidths. And I think, again, this is why we will see increasing changes taking place both in the UK and other major markets in terms of the vehicle itself, its usage and the technology as we be able to take advantage of 5G systems. However, the future is perhaps shifting from cars to connected mobility solutions. Just about every brand that you come to name talks about they're no longer going to be a car producer, they're mobility providers. And different sorts of mobility have been provided in different ways, whether that's shared services, increasing last mile, both delivery or last mile transport, be that through bikes, through e-scooters. The shared economy, shared driving, which as I said before, is probably been set back a bit because of COVID and people's unwillingness for safety reasons to share with others in terms of personal transport. But it will recover as we recover from the COVID situation that we all face. But you see there, some of the major international companies, Volkswagen, Ford, BMW, Bosch, and so forth, all looking at these sort of technologies, how you can shift from that traditional business model into a new model which meets the increasing demands of consumers who are embracing these sorts of technology. So we see huge opportunities in the future, both in terms of mobility and auto tech. Obviously, the insights that will be generated from all this data that's around, creating huge value and mobility. That's where the monetization challenge is at the moment. With all this data that's going to be created, where is that business opportunity that will encourage different new entrants into the market to seize the opportunity and create new ideas? I'll come to some of the things that we're doing here in the UK in a moment. We see urban mobility solutions for future cities, trying to resolve some of the urban mobility challenges around congestion and environmental impact as best we can. That will be about private users of private transport and commercial users, the fleets. This is perhaps one of the real opportunities in the first instance, being able to have more intelligent fleets, more efficient fleets, because that will instantly save money, helps the bottom line, and encourages that investment, that virtuous circle. Said before, there's new ideas around ownership or not ownership, shared and on-demand mobility models. And also the service offering within the vehicle, whether that is owned or whether that is shared. I think there's tremendous opportunities there. And you'll see increasingly new entrants coming to market to take advantage of what will effectively be a captive audience for long periods of that journey. What are we doing in the UK? Well, one of the things we've been doing for the past couple of years is something called the SMMT Future Mobility Challenge. This is where we got together with about 5 of our members, major tier 1 suppliers, major OEMs. They agreed 8 or 9 grand challenges, and those challenges were thrown out to the startup community, of which London has a huge number of startups and so forth. These challenges were thrown out. Okay, come to us with your ideas. What is it, what is your ideas? How will your ideas, your technology, your innovation help us solve these grand challenges? The response was overwhelming. We obviously had a lot of engagement from different partners trying to facilitate this, but from the actual startup community, tremendous success. There was about 60 pitching sessions. There was around 40 people from those major brands meeting, discussing and seeing what these startups needed and how attractive some of their ideas, how relevant some of those ideas were in terms of solving some of these problems. We've been doing it for a couple of years now in the UK, and we want to do it again in the future. It is not just limited to UK partners. You can see there we were supported by the UK-Israel Tech Hub, and again, those international partnerships are something we really want to exploit in the future. So in terms of where we are, as I said, in terms of the UK, we want to try and facilitate the development, the introduction, the deployment of some of these technologies. No one's got all the answers to the technical problems. We will always try and make sure that we have good connections both at home in the UK, but also internationally. We have MOUs, Memorandum of Understanding, with different parts of the world, including with our sister organizations in Korea, to try and build those links, because we want to try and exploit any opportunity for information sharing, business opportunities to try and grow the industry on both sides, but also solve some of these problems, because the problems aren't unique to the UK. They're shared in so many cities around the world. So if you are interested in getting in touch, the email is international@smmt.co.uk. We obviously are at a number of the international events that take place when they're allowed to take place, obviously. And we often host our own events here in terms of Automechanicas. We run something called Meet the Buyer, where we link up purchasing departments of OEMs with suppliers, especially and increasingly in this area of innovation, because that's where we see tremendous growth opportunities. And we can obviously connect businesses internationally and domestically, and provide them with supporting data. So that's one of the roles of the SMMT. It's not just for the car industry. We represent cars, bus, truck, coach, taxi. We look after the supply chain. We look after aftermarket. And it's the interaction of all these different parts of the ecosystem which are going to have to operate much more closely if we're to solve some of these major problems that we face in cities of London, cities of Newcastle, cities of Edinburgh, Wales, and so forth, and internationally. So I hope that's given you an overview of what's going on in the UK. It is a hugely exciting time. It is hugely challenging as well, but the two kind of go hand in hand. What we're trying to do is trying to make sure, by working with the government, by working with the industry and our other stakeholders, that the UK can be in the forefront of this technological revolution, because the opportunities that it offers in terms of environment, in terms of congestion, in terms of economic, and of course in terms of safety, are so significant. We must take advantage of them, and take advantage of them as quickly as possible. Thanks very much for allowing me to talk to you today. Any further queries, please do get in touch, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the conference. Thank you very much.